All right, so we are starting. Thank you everyone for coming to this third and final of our three-part series with Hannah and Michael Shaps. This is our pair of Shaps holiday cheese and wine pairing. And so this is going to be basically cheeses that are going to be great for the upcoming holidays, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, as well as some holiday wines. So hopefully everyone has purchased or has these wines. So we have our Cremant de Bourgogne by Maison Shaps, our Petit Manseng 2017, our Maison Doux, and then finally our 2014 El Scott. And then the cheeses that hopefully you all have are the Briat Savarin, Taleggio, Manchego Reserva, and Shropshire Blue that either you got from Feast, and thank you to Feast for helping us with that, or maybe you found them at your local cheese shop. And here's my cheese board. So hopefully you could make one like that. And
not like this.
And I will move on to Hannah and Michael.
All right, can everybody hear me? Welcome, welcome. Can you hear me? Yeah.
I got an echo. Why do I have an echo? Is it just me?
Is there an echo now? No? Okay, so I'm good to go. All right, hi guys. I'm coming at you live from my living room. How exciting is that? So as of Friday at midnight, Thursday at midnight, France has been reconfined, which means we can't leave our houses unless we have a legitimate excuse. And I didn't think that eating cheese and drinking wine would have been legitimized by the police. So instead of going to Maison Shaps in Meursault, I stayed here in Beaune. But my background is some of my favorite cheese accompaniments, cheese accessories, cheese books, etc. So we're still in the cheese world. We're still thinking about cheese and wine, but I'm doing it from my home instead of somewhere more fun and exotic, as we say. So welcome to our last pairing. This pairing, as Ivy mentioned, is a holiday themed pairing. So our goal for this pairing was to kind of highlight some pairings, some products like the Cremant that are really ideal for the holiday season, whether it's for a holiday gathering or a dinner party. We just kind of wanted to showcase some of our wines and some great cheeses that really bring in the holiday festivities, that are really good, that are really fun, and maybe are unique and you haven't tried before. So this is the last one. So hopefully throughout this journey, you've learned a little bit, you've kind of become more curious about the cheese world, the cheese scene, and maybe just pairing wine and cheese all together. So without further ado, we'll launch into our first cheese, the Brie Savarin. This cheese is awesome. Hopefully you all have something similar, or this cheese itself. It's a triple cream cheese. So what that means is that it has higher than 75% milk fat. So the fat content in a cheese is based on the percentage of solids in the cheese, excluding liquids. So to find the milk fat, you actually divide the percentage of milk solids and fat by 2, which makes the cheese really, really creamy. It's actually had cream added to it in the production process, which most cheeses don't have done. So for example, last time, when we tasted the Roquefort, that was only 40 to 45% butter fat. So this cheese has almost double that. So it's gonna be white, it's gonna be creamy, and have a nice little rind, as you can see here, that's either made by Penicillium candidum and or Geotrichum in the aging process. And the reason we picked this cheese and we picked the Cremant is because Cremant and triple cream cheeses, or Cremant or any sparkling wine and triple cream cheeses, are really made to go together. The creaminess in the cheese actually counteracts the bubbles, and the bubbles actually cleanse your palate in between bites. So together they create a really nice pairing that each product is illuminated and kind of made to go together. And the reason I chose Brie Savarin for this particular pairing is because as a holiday cheese, you can dress it up. Some of my favorite things to do with it are to pour truffle honey over it, or you could do a fruit coulis or just fresh fruits. As it's so light and milky, it's really just a great kind of surface for pairing some of your favorite things and kind of dressing it up. So if you guys are ready to taste, we can take a bite. Got a little slice. It should be milky, it should be buttery. It should kind of fall apart. It shouldn't be chalky at all. It should be really like a smooth paste. Because of that cream, it really hardly ever is chalky, if anything. And depending on the ripeness of the one you have, it should be a clean white rind or maybe starting to get a little bit brown and a little bit more mushroomy, but otherwise very milky. So we'll try it and then we'll see how it goes with the wine. Good.
It's great.
Oh.
So any kind of cheese like this, creamy, heavy, triple cream and bubbles is a perfect match. You got the coating of the cheese, the creaminess, and then the nice crispness and acidity from the sparkling just kind of, you know, balances out, just takes it from one extreme to the other, from the richness to the crispness. It kind of helps cleanse the palate, but it really, you know, I love sparkling with heavy cheeses like this and also with fried food. So it could be, you know, like fried chicken or fried oysters, but, oh, I lost mine. So this is the Cremant. If you're not familiar with the Cremant, is made from all 4 of the Burgundian varietals. This is actually Chardonnay and Aligoté, and then it's also Gamay and Pinot Noir. So it's a Blanc de Noir from those 2 blended with the Blanc de Blanc of the other varieties. And it's made in a style, again, it's traditional method champenoise, so it's a traditional style of champagne style, but it's made in more approachable, younger, fruitier style. We want to, you know, make this with the goal to have it early consumption. It's not one that you really look to age on like a traditional vintage champagne. So we want to bring out a lot of that bright apple, citrus notes, some pear notes, not at the long-term age, so heavy sur-lie or a lot of the yeast component, not really the style of this one. So I think it's really more about the brightness, the freshness, crispness, and perfect, I think, with this kind of cheese. So any comments on the pairing?
Yeah, and so we wanted to, with the Cremant, with the 4 varietals, as my father mentioned, it really does create a fruitier wine that does highlight the milkiness. Can I ask why you chose all 4 varietals in your Cremant? It's not, since I sell Cremant, not yours. Well, I know your mouth is full, so I'll just talk, but it's okay. It's quite interesting. You don't always see that, the 4 varietals of Burgundy, especially Burgundy being the way it is. You protect the grapes and you use them for single varietal wines, less so pouring them all in a sparkling.
Right. No, it's fun because I like the combination of the different varietals blended together, and it's unique. And, you know, it's very easy to do a traditional Blanc de Blanc or Blanc de Noir, but we have all these 4 varieties as well. And so it's nice to do the assemblage, the blending of the varieties and come up with this kind of, you know, unique style. It's not very common to do all 4. So.
Any questions about the cheese or the wine? Just to add about the cheese, if you do have some left over, it should be good for about a week. It's pretty fresh, but try to keep it in cheese paper, or if you have to, plastic wrap, but make sure to change it quite often because it is so milky and really susceptible to kind of temperature changes and just.
So Hannah, this is from Feast, but I believe also isn't Wegmans have a lot of different, they have different types of.
They do, yeah. Wegmans has a great selection. They have Brillat Savarin. They also have a Crémant de Bourgogne, which is like a smaller version of this cheese. I believe they might have 1 or 2 domestic versions as well. So definitely local Wegmans or Whole Foods would have it. And like I said, for the holiday season, you can even buy like a whole wheel. It's fairly affordable, and then you can, you know, drizzle different kind of fun things on top or put nuts around or dried herbs on top, and it makes a really pretty centerpiece. And this cheese is a great appetizer cheese. Typically here in France we do after dinner cheeses, but this is one of the cheeses that I think would be a great with a champagne or a sparkling wine to start off kind of your evening as well.
And temperature wise on this, best way
it's best like a little bit for me colder than room temperature because it does fall apart really easily. So for my cheeses today, I took them all out about an hour to an hour and a half before, except for the Brillat Savarin, which I took out about 30 minutes. And for me, it's still a little bit cold, but it allows it to hold its structure. And then when you put it in your mouth, because it is so creamy, it kind of just melts anyways. So I think it would depend if you were having a piece or the whole wheel out, but it's definitely not one to leave out for longer than a couple hours. It'll fall apart. You'll just have a puddle of cream, which no one's ever complained about, but presentation-wise, it's probably not ideal. And in a pinch, if you have Brillat Savarin and you don't have cream, I've taken off the rind and plopped it in pasta, and it's been really good. But I would only suggest that if you live in France and you have a lot of cheese around at your disposal, and fancy French cheese is not hard to come by. You just kind of get it, it shows up at your house, and sometimes you just have to use it how you have to use it.
Any comments on the pairing? Any nuances that anybody wants to talk about, or anything you didn't like about the pairing? It would be great to get some feedback.
Oh, I liked it.
Hi. Yeah, I thought the pairing was wonderful, especially with that cheese. I got a lot of fruit and floral notes as it cleansed the palate from the cheese, but really, really lovely pairing.
Great. Yeah, I think there's some nice acidity in the cheese that really doesn't, so it's not too overpowering. If it didn't have the acidity, it might be a little bit, make the sparkling a little flat, but I think it really pairs up nicely with that.
Since it is the holiday season, I do have a question. Maybe this will be relevant to some of our watchers. How do truffles, how do they go with wine, with especially Cremant? Because this cheese, it's a great truffle pairing cheese, pieces of truffle, any kind of things. And I know truffle and wine don't typically match well because of the earthiness and the strongness of truffles, but could you do a truffle, you know, Brillat Savarin, because that I know you can find all around town during the holidays, with the Cremant?
Yeah, I think it might be with the truffle. It might be better with a little bit more, a stronger wine.
Okay.
I think it would be a little bit too much for the Cremant. It could work with you know, more of a Pinot, or maybe something like a Riesling or something with a little more intensity. But
Okay.
yeah,
Good to know.
yeah, the truffle really, you know.
It's truffle season here in Burgundy. It's relevant. They're everywhere.
Good. Any questions about anything to do about anything at any time about cheeses or serving or how it's made? Feel free to chime in. So.
Yeah, challenge me. Let's go. I'm ready. This might be our last one of these for a while. I don't think we have any others planned, so this is definitely the moment. If you have any questions or suggestions or any general comments, feel free to bring them up. If not, we can go into our next pairing. That sounds like a good idea.